Today we continue on with our NHL Season Preview series. We head back to the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic Division to preview the Ottawa Senators. Is the rebuild over? Can they compete for a playoff spot as soon as this year? How has this team changed? We'll discuss all that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're doing a season preview for the upcoming 2021-2022 NHL season for the Ottawa Senators. So obviously the Sens are going to be one of the more interesting teams, I think, to see how far they've come in another year of experience under their belt. Of course, we saw GM Pierre Dorion declare that the rebuild is over. So we're going to discuss that a little bit further and see how much progress we should expect from this team this year. But before we do that, we want to recap last year, take a look at some of the team results, take a look at some of their top scoring leaders, and then analyze how this team has changed, look at their projected lineup, and then discuss from there what we think they're going to do. Now, first up, let's recap the 2021 NHL season results here for the Ottawa Senators. So, of course, as you likely recall, they were having a pretty good season overall. Like, they finished really strong. We saw a lot of growth from their kids. It didn't necessarily translate to moving up in the standings. They finished 6th place in the North Division for 51 points with a record of 23, 28, and 5, of course, in the condensed 56-game season in the new North Division, which was certainly interesting. I think they'll be anxious to go back to regular divisions this year after playing the same teams so many times last year. Obviously, Ottawa did not have a great start, but they certainly had a much stronger finish, and we'll take a look at those numbers here a little bit further. They did score 157 goals while allowing 190. Obviously, the goals against have to be cut down to really see tremendous growth here. The goals for weren't too bad, but certainly have a little bit of room to continue to work their way up into the first upper half of the league as well. Power play was not great at all, 15.5%. Certainly need to see more growth there. Early in the year, especially, it had stretches, long stretches, with no goals, which certainly impacted the overall numbers. Like later into the year, it was better. They finally got some things going, but it was a little bit too little too late to really improve the overall season stats. PK-wise was okay, but needs work as well, 78.9%. Looking at their scoring leaders from last year, we have potential new captain, remains unsigned though at this point, Brady Tkachuk with 17 goals and 19 assists for 36 points. Connor Brown with 21 goals, 14 assists for 35 points. So Brown leads the team in goals. Tkachuk leads the team in points as well as assists. Josh Norris scores 17 goals and 18 assists for 35 points as well, to be tied with Brown for second place. And Drake Batherson scores 17 goals and 17 assists for 34 points. So obviously this team has a major hurdle ahead of them. As I record this video, at least Brady Tkachuk remains unsigned about a week into NHL training camp. I think it's at the point where fans are starting to be a little bit concerned, rightfully so. I honestly don't think they should be too concerned until the beginning of the season rolls around. If this is not sorted out, settled, and signed by then I do think there'll be more cause for alarm. Obviously, the Senators unfortunately have a history of not wanting to pay their top players to keep them in town. There's been a lot of discussions that there is an 8-year deal being discussed, which would keep him here for a long time in Ottawa, make him the captain likely, and have him be a huge part of the team moving forward. But obviously, they need to get that done. It seems like the sticking points right now revolve around structure. So we're talking about potential signing bonuses, possible trade protection later in the contract once he's eligible, and things like that. The extras that the top players tend to ask for and quite often get around the NHL. There are some other teams, though, besides Ottawa, that do not like to hand out bonuses. And I do understand why teams are not fond of it. But they need to, I think, make an exception for top players. If that's the going rate, that's what it takes for doing good business to keep your star player in town, then you have to do it. That's just the way things go. But will Eugene Melnyk and Pierre Dorion get that done? Only time will tell, and that's going to be a huge part of this season, which we really can't predict at this point. Now, let's take a look first. Before we jump into what we think they're going to do, we need to look at how the team has changed. Let's first start with the Senators players who have exited the franchise since the end of last season. Of course, we saw Evgeny Dadonov, who had come over on a free agent contract, formerly of the Florida Panthers. Didn't really work out. The main reason he was brought in was to help the power play, and we saw that result just a moment ago. It was bad. It was really bad, and Dadonov had no chemistry on the power play at all with the Senators guys. Although I will cut him some slack, though. I mean, it was a unique season, right? You have to remember that a lot of players, especially when they had to change, either going between Canada and the U.S. or new teams, a lot of times they left their families behind. They were under a lot of COVID restrictions. It was not a normal season. They couldn't really spend the amount of time together that they're used to off the ice to really build chemistry and get to know each other better. And it was just unique that way, which has hurt people, especially on new teams. But Dadonov just was not a fit. If he had stayed, maybe it would have worked out, but they were able to find him a fresh start and get him traded off to the Vegas Golden Knights, and to me, that was a great move. They also did not re-sign Ryan Dzingel after bringing him back for his second stint with the team. Got off to a hot start in the first few games. Everybody was clamoring for them to sign Dzingel. Oh my lord, he's doing so good. And then he just cooled off like a cucumber, and you never saw him really do much the rest of the year. So they made the right move there. He gets a short-term deal in Arizona. Artem Anisimov's in a different NHL city, obviously. Artem Anisimov does not return. No surprise there at all. Same with Derek Stepan, who was out for more than the last half of the season with a knee injury. Michael Amadio, who had come over from LA, is in camp with the Leafs right now. He came over in that Christian Wolanin trade. Again, another player that really wasn't part of the team's future. You could tell within a couple games that there's just no way that he was going to fit there. Of course, they finally found a new home for Logan Brown just recently, trading him to the St. Louis Blues. So he gets a bit of a homecoming going to his hometown in St. Louis. We'll see if he can get things on track there. I do have legit concerns that Logan Brown will be a regular NHL player that produces, but we'll see, I guess. Joey Daccord goes to Seattle in expansion. That was a loss for the Senators, but they do have a ton of goaltenders that look really good right now. So Marcus Högberg departs as well. Högberg just did not have a good season. He had an opportunity to nail down a regular NHL spot, and he did not live up to expectations. He was an RFA, so they did not qualify him, and he signed a longer-term deal to go back and play in Europe, where Daccord goes to Seattle. It's unfortunate about Daccord. He has a lot of energy, great personality. He really looked like he was going to be a real team guy who battles every game. But I can understand why Seattle was interested. And like I said, they have plenty of other goaltenders in the system here, so we'll see where things go. But obviously, those are your exits for the Senators after last season. Now let's jump over and take a look at the new additions. Who have they brought in to replace some of these guys? Well, they continued on with bringing in vets, and the vets are going to be coming in to challenge the young guys for spots. They want to make sure that the young guys don't just be handed everything, that they have to earn it, which I do understand. But these veteran defensemen they brought in, like Michael Del Zotto and Nick Holden, I just don't really get it, to be honest. I mean, in Holden's case, if he can be like a 6'7" guy and with a 1 year on a contract, okay, I get that. Another veteran back there makes sense. But a guy like Michael Del Zotto, who they seem to me like they're trying to expect him to play top 4 minutes on a 2-year contract, makes absolutely no sense. There's a reason why this guy has not had more than a 1-year contract or has only gone on PTOs for the last while. I mean, this guy bounces around a ton. He is not a top 4 defenseman. I do not understand why the Senators went that direction at all. Lack of a better option, maybe. But still, at that point, I understand, like I said, that they want the young guys to battle vets for jobs. But if that's really the case, then I don't think it's going to be long for guys like MDZ and Holden to not be playing much. I mean, they already went through this last year. You thought they would have learned their lesson. But at the end of the day here, they continued on with bringing in some vets that I just don't think are going to cut it. You get Pontus Aberg as well, comes in. He's likely going to play in the AHL, but it could be a call-up option with NHL experience. Tyler Ennis is there on a PTO right now, is expected to get a short-term deal, probably a 1-year contract, anywhere from $750 to $900, somewhere in that range. Could be a trade deadline piece to get another draft pick. They did this already. Signed him a couple of years ago. He played the year, was productive. Traded him off to Edmonton for a draft pick at the deadline if it's not looking like they're going to be in the playoffs. So to me, that's a low-risk move. And of course, Zach Sanford joins them from St. Louis, a big body player who can play middle six and be somewhat productive. And obviously a guy who brings over some experience after his run with the Blues on their way to their Stanley Cup a couple seasons back. So I don't mind a Zach Sanford acquisition. I don't mind Tyler Ennis coming in on a PTO. There's no real risk with Aberg, but those two D, to me, I don't understand the direction they're going with this blue line. To me, that is certainly the concern going into next year. Now, before we look at their depth chart and analyze what I think they're going to accomplish this year, I do want to pause for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Exter Smart Wallets. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Exter. Forbes calls Exter the most successful smart wallet brand in the world. They certainly have high quality products, high grade leather. You can put all your cards in your wallet with RFID protection, and you can track it worldwide. That's the best part. You don't have to worry about losing your wallet and not being able to track it down. They have a great selection of products to choose from here, a variety of colors and styles, something to surely help for everyone. As you can see in the demonstration here for the product I have, this is a beautiful packaging, high quality. When you open it up, you get a high quality wallet with lots of slots for your cards. You have yourself a money clip if you want to carry cash on you here as well. And certainly, as you can see, the quality is outstanding. And here you can see the switch where you can help open up your cards. You just one little click and boom, everything fans out right in front of you. Easy to access. Your cards are protected. And here's the back where you have yet another slot. A terrific overall product, and I can't recommend these enough. Exter ships worldwide, and you can check out the link down below in the description as well as the pinned comment to buy yours today. So thanks very much for watching that promotional content. If you're interested in learning more information about Exter and looking at their products, there is a pinned comment down below with a link that you can click on and check everything out and consider making a purchase from there. Now, jumping back to the Senators and looking at their depth charts here, courtesy of dailyfaceoff.com, let's look at what their projected starting lineup would look like here come opening night. Now, of course, this is assuming Brady Tkachuk gets signed, but of course, your top line would be Norris, Batherson, and Tkachuk. Top line from last year who played together so much. Right now, they're projecting Chris Tierney to be the number 2 center with Tim Stützle and Connor Brown. That's what the Senators have been saying, that they want to give him the opportunity to be there. But to be honest, another case of a veteran guy not living up to expectations. Chris Tierney is a 4C, not a 2C. I don't understand why they want to continue to push that. Last year, he was terrible. I'll just be frank here, in case you didn't see a lot of Sens games. Chris Tierney had a terrible season. I like the player in the right role. You put him on a fourth line and play him 10, 12 minutes a night. He can win some faceoffs and kill some penalties and maybe gives you a little bit of offense, but in a top 6 role, not a chance. You need to put Shane Pinto there, and there'll be no time before he wins that role, in my opinion. He's looked really good in the preseason. Right now, they have him on the third line with Nick Paul and Zach Sanford. That could be a spot, but personally, I think you need to put Tierney down to the fourth line, move up Pinto to line 2, and move up White to line 3, which they have the fourth line right now as Colin White with Alex Formenton and Austin Watson. Now, White and Sanford played together in college. They have a little bit of chemistry. I'd put them on the third line with Nick Paul. To me, that makes a lot of sense. And I'd say, like I said, you'd go with a guy like Pinto in the middle between Stützle and Brown. You get Formenton on the fourth line, but he's a guy that can go up and down your lineup. He's got a ton of speed, kill penalties, and eventually, at some point here, could be a top 6 guy or work his way more into a third line role as well. And of course, Watson's there doing a lot of the physical stuff, dropping the gloves, killing penalties, all that stuff as well. Now, on the blue line, you've got Thomas Chabot paired with Artem Zub on your top pair. That makes sense. Zub is a good stabilizer, will be good for Chabot. They have Zaitsev with MDZ, Michael Delzato on the second pair. That frightens me, to be completely honest. Then you get Nick Holden with Eric Brandstrom on your third pair with Victor Mete and Josh Brown, I guess, being your extras. This blue line is a real cause for concern. Between the pipes, of course, you got Matt Murray along with Philip Gustafsson or Anton Forsberg. If Murray can bounce back and be the guy that they expect him to be, and there was a word that he spent a lot of time with the new goaltending coach in Ottawa doing a lot of stuff. He's in great shape. They've been raving about how much work he put in, so we'll see if that work pays off. But if goaltending, to me, last year was an issue early on, but even if they have to turn to Gustafsson, they proved last year that they stabilized that position by the end of the season. So if that can stay stable and this forward group can continue to progress and score, my main area of concern is that blue line, and it's because of these vets that they brought in here. I understand the concern as well about maybe playing Brandstrom and Mete at the same time. They're both smaller, left shot D. They're good at moving the puck, but a little bit weaker on their own end. I understand that. So, you have some guys coming like Jake Sanderson, who's expected to be a stud top 4 guy. You don't want to, clog up the top 4 and make him wait. So when he wants to come, you can put him in there. Of course, you got Jacob Bernard Docker, who's likely going to go to the minors for a while this year, get some more experience at that level. So to me, this blue line is a big concern, but at the same time, I think they can be in the playoff conversation. I expect them to be in that 4-5 range. I don't expect them to keep up with teams like Tampa, Florida, or Toronto. Probably not Boston either, but I think Ottawa and Montreal is going to be probably there with the Bruins or close, battling for that 4, 5, 6 spots. Are playoffs a possibility? Yes, they're a possibility, but I don't want Senators fans to get their hopes up because they're in a really tough division, even though I do expect a lot more progress to be made this year, and I do think we can see a lot more growth. I'm not sure playoffs are a realistic thing. It's possible, but again, not realistic to say it's a guarantee by any means. Igor Sokolov is another player to watch as the season goes on. I expect him to get games and could be a surprise player. He's got the big size, a big shot, a decent skater for a big guy as well. So to me, I think he'll find a way to get on this roster and possibly be full-time before the end of the year as well. And so they even got more guys coming like Ridley Gregg and so on. Like, that's why they were able to part with Logan Brown. They have so many forward prospects that look really good right now that there's no shortage of them. They're going to keep coming. They're not all going to be able to be Ottawa Senators long term. It's just, the nature is only so many spots here on the roster. So I do expect as time goes on throughout the year, Ottawa continue to try to find ways to make this blue line better. Goaltending, hopefully it stays solid back there and Murray can be the guy. If he's not the guy, then they have to turn to Gustafsson real quick. They have to have a short leash, and we'll see. Like I said, I also expect some vets to work their way down the lineup and eventually out of the lineup as the kids continue to take over. But is the rebuild over? Yes, it is. But I don't want you to think that saying the rebuild is over does not mean they're a serious playoff contender. It does not mean they're a Stanley Cup contender. It just means that they've accumulated a ton of players that they have confidence in to be full-time NHL players, that they don't have to be, really pushing so hard to accumulate all these prospects and picks anymore. They can work with what they have to try to make them better and work their way into being the contender for playoffs in the Stanley Cup. And from there, that's what we should see over the next few years. But I do think this team is going to be fun, exciting, and make some tremendous growth. Just not sure that they're going to get in the playoffs as early as this year, but you just never know. Let me know your thoughts on the Senators as we go into this 2021 NHL season. Let me know your thoughts on the Senators for the upcoming NHL season down below in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.